Welcome to Hort Culture, where a group of extension professionals and plant people talk about the business, production, and joy of planting seeds and helping them grow. Join us as we explore the culture of horticulture.
And the culture of horticulture, we have a guest on today, so we're going to introduce. Very exciting. And Jacob, why don't you introduce yourself to get us started?
Yeah, Jacob Stidham. Work here at Yew Dell Botanical Gardens, just outside Louisville, Kentucky. Been in and out of different types of greenhouses for, I think, 25 years this year. Also a board member with the Kentucky Nursery and Landscape Association and on the board of the Kentucky Horticulture Council.
Awesome.
Very
Lots of
cool.
Good. We've had some Hort Council peeps on here, so shout out to them for sure.
Well, yeah, we're going to jump into what Yew Dell is here in a little bit and talk more. But I have a question here. So, Jacob, as I was looking at some of what you've done before, I saw that as part of your schooling as a Boilermaker, am I correct?
That's right.
The Purdue Boilermakers. You actually had the opportunity to spend some time in England, hanging out and seeing some the Kew Gardens and the Chelsea Flower Show and all that kind of stuff. And
Bucket
so I was
list.
curious if you had to take one of those that for you would recommend to others to add to their bucket list.
All of it.
What might be on which one of those places that you went to, and if you want to do two, Alexis might try to keep you from doing it, but we have the ability to stretch the rules for you. Which ones might you recommend most highly?
That might be harder than asking me what my favorite plant is. Yeah, we were over there for 18 days on a Maymester through Purdue. So we did the gardens, like you said, Chelsea Flower Show. The Chelsea Flower Show is amazing. I've not been to the Philadelphia Flower Show here in the States, but it was awe-inspiring. They're really showing off what they do. Over here, if you go to trade shows, it's a lot about sales and things like that. Mm-hmm. But over there, they were just very proud to show you their horticulture. And then the gardens, I mean, all of them had something different, but walking out of Hampton Court through the back of the castle and seeing the gardens, that was our first stop on the trip. England just brings such a different level of horticulture ingrained in their society. But to be fair, they have much better weather than we do here in the Kentucky area.
Yeah.
They weren't under 2 foot of snow and 5 degrees below zero 2 weeks ago.
What about you all? Do you all have a thing that you've traveled, you, Alexis or Jessica, that you've traveled to see plant or horticulture related that, it doesn't have to be the very best one, but one that comes to mind that you're like, if I were helping someone to assemble their bucket list, I would recommend this one?
I actually was just talking to somebody kind of about this who is getting ready to go to Hawaii for the first time. And I had the opportunity to go to Hawaii 10 years ago. And I always make this joke because it's so true. Like farm people, plant people on our vacations, we do farm people things and plant people things, right? That's what you do even on your vacations. So I was just actually sharing with somebody how cool it was to obviously going to the national park there with the Volcano National Park. But then I was telling them about like, oh, hey, while you're there, you should check out a lot of the coffee plantations while you're there, or just the botanical gardens that are there. Or I was telling her a great detail about on your way to the volcano, there is a orchid greenhouse and they only do orchids and, all these different things like that. So something a little more, unique, one of those other bucket list things of being able to go to that national park and those opportunities to see how some of those crops are grown.
Yeah, tip: never pass up a botanical garden. I've yet to go to one that I didn't enjoy in some way. Like that's just we center our vacations around two things: can we fish there, and is there a botanical garden and or botanical park, something along those lines. The most recent one I went to that I was really thought was so cool was the Phoenix Botanical Garden, because they've got, Arizona has these really vast different types of landscapes. And so they have a little bit of everything there. They do a really good job. So they have like different cacti collections, and they're like 40 foot tall. And I'm like, this is a tree, but it's a succulent, but it's a tree, And so there's just a lot to see in that way. So I would say, just like rule of thumb, if you can go to a botanical garden, I don't care where it is, you should go.
I like
Can I
that.
share one more that's really cool and unique?
I would encourage you to. Yeah.
Okay. Going to Florida Keys, right? Also a great opportunity to see some really cool botanical things. My husband and I had the opportunity to go to the Fruit and Spice Botanical Garden once, and it was pretty amazing because everything you could think of, like tropical fruit, they were trying to grow there, or spices, right? And it was a very unique experience to see all these little different plants and some huge plants, or but that was all right there, right at the Florida Keys. So very cool
Keys
experience.
Now has the song Kokomo stuck in my head. And you specifically singing it, Jessica. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds great.
She's great.
Yeah, Jacob, are you at your core? Would you say that you're a plant person?
Absolutely.
When do you remember that starting, or like what's kind of been your when did you know?
What was your gateway drug to plants?
You were a plant person.
Really, growing up, I was always out in the garden with my mom and dad, my grandma and grandpa. I grew up in southern Indiana, right across the river from Louisville, but my grandparents were born down in eastern Kentucky, down in Letcher County. And like any good mountain folk, they know how to grow a garden. I spent many a days as a kid picking the mountain half runners. So always felt a connection to gardening and knowing where your food comes from. And it's just really grown since then. So at a very early age.
Very cool.
I think gardening is a lot of our segues, or at least Jessica and I, we just grew up with it, right? And you just grow up getting dirty, planting something, and hopefully harvesting something from it. If you can keep the squirrels and the rabbits away, that is.
Yeah, I think if I am a hardcore plant person, which I'm not really entirely convinced that I am, but
he is just a different kind.
I'm the latest bloomer of the group. By a long shot, I think. Everybody else was keyed in, and I came late to the party. So I'm always curious. Well, because sometimes, you end up in a situation where your job's a really good fit, and like you are interested in the thing, and it allows you to do it. And then other times, it's like you end up in a job and you're good at it, and you can figure it out. But your real passion is
snowboarding.
Yeah, snowboarding, for example. Olympics plug.
Olympics are on my brain.
Do you all have a plant that you remember from your childhood that just ingrained, whether it's a tree or anything like that?
We had the farm I grew up on. There was this weird little crabapple in the woods that was just like on the edge of the woods, and it was like the perfect tree to sit in. Like it wasn't huge, it wasn't so tall, but like as a kid I could get in it, but I felt like I was up, really high, and had like the perfect little sitting branch. So, I could sit up there and read, and the dogs would just lay under so that's my immediate, like the little crabapple in the woods. Mom knew where to find me. It was there.
Yeah. My grandma would grow castor beans as a kid. So the great big green plants that we get called the house. And we called them dog ticks because if you've seen that seed before, it looks like a tick that's swelled up full of blood. Not to get what it looks like. So we called them dog ticks. And I remember going out there and, as a little kid, karate chopping off the yellow leaves that had formed on the bottom. And to bring it full circle, we've had those planted here at Yew Dell in display gardens since I've been here. So it's really nice to be able to see kids see the same thing that I did and maybe spark that same passion for them.
They do give off like a Jurassic Park vibe when they're really big because the leaves get so large. These like bright red, spiky looking things. So they are very, like, for a plant that is, something that grows here easily, it's very, very Jurassic Park vibes, I think. Like, I'd play in that as a kid. For sure. Jessica, what about you?
It's almost like, it's kind of sad, but I used to have a huge ash tree outside my parents' house, like a massive one that was right outside my bedroom window. And I remember doing my very first like leaf collection, like tree observation on it. And ironically enough, a few weekends ago, I ran into that teacher who did that project. And I was like, hey, do you remember me? Hey, by the way, core memory, did that project. I have a degree in horticulture now. Right? I was like, you
Look
made
what
a
you've
difference.
done.
Yeah. But we still have like it is of course declined by this point, that ash tree. But we have a big chunk of the stump of it still in my parents' yard. And so I think fondly of that tree that was there pretty much my entire childhood and right outside my bedroom window. So
No,
but
Brett.
I would say there's like a silver maple that was in my parents' backyard that I climbed on some, and then I remember having a garden at my grandma's house, growing some vegetables and stuff like that. But those were, I don't have as vivid of plant memories necessarily from that era.
Brett's making so many new plant memories that he's like, I don't need those old ones.
Mhm.
Well, we're talking about trees, and Jacob, you mentioned you work at Yew Dell. Tell us about the gem that is Yew Dell. Jessica and I love Yew Dell, so tell us more about it.
Well, appreciate that intro. It's a magical place to work. I've been here since January of 2018, so I've seen the gardens grow quite a bit.
Yeah.
We're a little bit for everyone, just like all those core memories we were just talking about. Yew Dell is that for a lot of the kids that come through today, whether it's seeing the big leaf magnolia in full flower with the flowers that are big as a great big dinner platter. A lot of people have had weddings here, so they share that memory throughout the rest of their lives. But no, active botanical garden. So lots of display gardens. We're about 30 acres of maintained garden spaces and arboretum. We got about 30 more acres of woodlands where we have a couple lakes and such like that. So hiking trails, plenty of bird watching opportunities throughout the property, especially in the woodlands. I came on to start developing a nursery here in 2018. So now we're an active nursery growing thousands of plants for our annual displays each year, perennials, plant sales. Our online sales for 2026 went live just this week. And then get into the educational aspect of it. So workshops and seminars and lectures and things like that to really open the community's mind and eyes up to the world of plants.
Yeah, I feel like Yew Dell is just such a approachable like botanical garden for people who like, maybe aren't sure or have never been to an arboretum, or there's just like you said, there's a little something for everybody, and there's really like cool little niches. You all have the like, the castle, the little mini castle there, and there's just there's so much like just the stonework that's in some of those areas is so beautiful. And I was there in late October was the last time I was there, and you had great signage. If someone wants to know, I literally have on my phone a picture of a sign of an aster that I saw that I've never seen before, and I was like, I need to own this. And I took a picture of it. It's still on my phone for one day when I can find it. But the signage is great. It just feels like a really approachable place for you don't have to know a ton about plants. If you just enjoy being outside, walking in the shade under some of those stunning trees, it's a really great place to go. And there's like kids areas that are also super cool that I love to go through, like the fairy garden. And there's a big beach, I think, that's like right on one of the like outer perimeters that I pass. I'm always like, hey, I wave to her as I go by.
Yeah, the fairy forest is a big hit with both the little kids and the adults. That's been
The whimsy.
yeah. And then you talked about the aster you took a picture of. That's kind of what we're trying to do with the nursery is get more of these hard to find perennials into the hands of the people that are looking for them that you can't find in box stores, and definitely grow a whole lot of your more unusual, especially shade plants.
Yeah.
I remember that on one of our tours that we had where those
shade gardens
they were really highlighted. And I also, you talk about having pictures on your phones. I know I had pictures of one year you all were doing, I think, an echinacea trial um, out there. So do you guys do you trial a lot of different plants for just yourselves or for companies, or how does that work with those little the test beds that we've seen?
We do. We kind of consider the whole garden a big evaluation. Whether it's the annuals that we put in this year, come August, September, we're going to see like, well, that one, we're not going to do that one anymore. This one was great. But we've definitely partnered with a lot of nurseries and breeders around the industry and around the country to be an asset for them to trial new plants or see if something's going to be hardy in this area. And we've got the two evaluation gardens we've had going for a few years, really trying to get as many of one type of species, as many cultivars together in one place. So the visitors, when they come in, they can see right next to each other which one they might like. And that's hard to grasp when you're walking down the aisles of an independent garden center and you see two echinaceas and you're like, well, which one's going to look better in 2 or 3 years? So they can come visit us and really see a whole lot right next to each other. We got a good big blue stem and little blue stem trial that we started last year. So that's going to be really spectacular this fall when they get established.
The Amsonia that you all have, there's an area down by the pavilion and one of the barns that is just spectacular. I think I get so much inspiration going for like my own beds. When you're feeling a lull, go at some point in the season. If you're like, wow, I'd really love to have more fall color, go to Yew Dell, see what's going on there, how they've paired things together. I love seeing how you all pair this sort of perennial. A lot of them are native perennials, but perennials with annuals. I think you all do such a great job of mixing those together, and so that there's just this interest kind of year round for people. I think that's really inspiring when people are trying to do, more natives or, something along those lines. It can be really tough sometimes to imagine them together.
Yeah, and we're very, very diverse in our plant collection. Even being here in Kentucky, we bloom 365 days a year outside, it's hard to believe, but if you add in your witch hazels and stuff into December, we got some of the early minor bulbs coming up. The snow finally melted for the most part here yesterday and today. So we're getting back into seeing our hellebores that had started to flower in early January. So people are kind of blown away when we say we do bloom 365 days a year. Don't expect fields of daffodils throughout the year, but for a plant person, coming out and finding those little hidden gems mixed out through the gardens is really fun.
Gives you some something to look forward to as well. Like, the depths of winter and the ice is melted and you're like, okay, there's something here for me that's interesting, whether it's blooming or just, pretty bark or something like that. That's always nice for sure. Oh man. Now I want to go. Come on, let's go. Everybody, we're going. Why aren't we doing this at Yew Dell? It's what we should be doing. This podcast in person.
As we were talking, I was just thinking, I was like, man, I've been there during the spring. I've been there during, like midsummer. And I was like, well, I need to go now in the fall and the winter as well. Like, so you have something, like you said, all year long for people to see.
It's a great time to really pay attention to our evergreen collection. That can kind of be overlooked when all the deciduous trees have their leaves on and there's just everywhere. But we do have a really nice collection of evergreens throughout the property that really show off this time of year.
So exciting.
So you mentioned that you've been involved with the Kentucky Horticulture Council and the Kentucky Nursery and Landscape Association, I think, as well. What's been your involvement with that? Is there a Yew Dell involvement? Do you have meetings or anything there, or kind of what's been your role in that?
We've definitely had some KNLA meetings out here. I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. KNLA had their summer outing at Yew Dell. I've been on the board, I believe it was summer of 2019. So I've seen it through the pandemic and how that all changed things. And we went virtual one year. But really working with a bunch of like-minded individuals from across the state to help organize the association meetings and things like that and bring people together a couple times a year for networking, continuing education and things like that.
So a part of those groups are there like any issues and stuff that like is coming across with some of our Kentucky nurseries and stuff now?
in terms of just like struggling with some aspects of business and things.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say the one even outside of the canelaid in the industry association, and I think this goes outside of our industry as well. It's just finding the talent to fill the roles
Mm,
that we have a desperate need of to get people in here that are passionate like us and get them involved in working with us.
yeah, I feel like being seeing that a lot. You know, Jessica and I both graduated from UK, and just the amount of people that in our graduating class was so small with horticulture and that nursery degrees, and it has grown substantially. I have seen, since I graduated many years ago, it has continued to grow, which is always inspiring. But horticulture in general is so broad, right? So just because you study horticulture doesn't mean you have a passion for nursery and growing plants. And if that's the angle you want to go, you could be doing turf or growing vegetables and farming and
Absolutely.
stuff. But the nursery, man, I'm so always so impressed by nursery people, because it's not only the cultivars, but there's it's much different growing a perennial plant, right, to size than it is to grow just an annual that you're turning over quickly, or hanging basket that you're only touching for a short period of time, compared to you're probably starting plants and doing special seed treatments and things like that, and then keeping them and taking care of them for what, 2 years at a minimum sometimes.
Oh, if you get into some of your tree nurseries where they're growing in the field, um,
Oh yeah.
3, 4, 5 years. So
Yeah.
you have to be willing to take that gamble that, yep, that tree's going to make it, got to take care of it. And then, or the customer is going to be wanting to buy it still in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it can definitely be an
It's
investment. But like you said,
yeah.
there's so many aspects of the industry. Um, Even
Mm-hmm.
if you're good at marketing and you like that, there's so many plant companies that need people in marketing to share what we do. Accountants, every business needs accountant and money people and business people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you really hit on a passionate topic for me. I think too many kids at a young age are told they need to be a doctor or a lawyer, and all the avenues aren't explored. They just get into school and then they get out and they don't know what to do. They didn't get those part-time jobs in high school in a greenhouse like I did. They didn't get to
Mm-hmm.
experience the smell of potting soil on a February day when the sun's out in that greenhouse. And they get too far into life and they miss that opportunity. Um, I can talk all day about bringing more of that stuff, the need to bring more of that stuff back into high school and middle school.
Yeah.
I've got a son that's in fourth grade. Um, and there's no reason those kids shouldn't be able to experience that, to see if it sparks that passion like that ash tree did um, for you as a young kid. So, yeah.
That's how many people have probably all of us met, who, when we tell, you introduce yourself, you tell them what you do. So many people go, "Oh, I love that. I wish I had known to do that." Or, I'm too far, like just exactly what you said. I'm too far along in life to change career paths now. Or, I wish I had known that was an option. And, yeah, I feel lucky. I also like interned in a greenhouse between, I was like, I don't want to be a civil engineer. What am I going to do with my life? And, interned in a plant place and learned there were careers in that. And so that's, yeah, really great point that kids just don't even know it's an option. And not every school has even the option, right? And in Kentucky, you can't get a plant degree at every university, and same in other states. So that can be even more limiting.
Just to be clear, Alexis didn't have trouble with the engineering part. She had trouble with being civil. That was why she had to end up opting out of that.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Well, so I hang out with a lot of plant people, and it's, we end up getting a lot of plant people on this podcast. So I want to pick your brain about it. Are there any plant trends that could be, consumers, that could be landscaping, could be other arboretums and things that you've been to, but are there any plant trends that you're either really into and excited about, or very over. Like, please don't ask me for this again. Can this just go
We
away?
want both, actually. I
Yeah,
want to know
both,
both.
Yes,
please.
please tell us both.
I'll give you both. Let's go back to those mountain half runners that I helped my grandma and grandpa pick when I was a little kid. I think COVID and the pandemic really showed us that people do kind of yearn to know where their food came from. They had the summer off that year and they're like, hey, let's try it. I remember Papa and Granny doing this when I was a kid, but my parents didn't do it. I really hope with every ounce of myself that that's something that's going to kind of come back a little bit. We're going to lose some of those people that got into it in 2020. But you can't talk to anybody who eats a plate of food at home that doesn't say it tastes better if they know where everything came from. We have a lot of edible garden plants here around our cabin at Yew Dell. We've got the cafe now. Chef Mike is, dishing out all kinds of great food. We're starting to grow some of that food that goes through the cafe for our visitors. And that's something that we need more of that. Everybody needs more of that. So that would be the trend that I am super excited about, and I hope that stays. And the stuff that I'm not excited about, most anything that you see on the social medias. So I've been on Facebook now since the fall of 2004 to date myself a little bit there. It's gotten gay. But the issues I take with it is you have a lot of people that are really wanting to get into gardening, whether that's edible gardening, they want to do an ecological side of it, create more habitat, and they're yearning for knowledge. So they're doom scrolling, they're getting on the Facebook, and they see a meme. Yay. All right, I need to plant native plants because they have deep roots. Everybody knows native plants are better because they have deep roots, right? That's just not. There's plants from all over the world that have both deep roots and shallow roots. So I think as an industry, and that's what we try to do here at Yew Dell, is provide better information to people that's in depth. It kind of goes past those 2 or 3 lines that you see on a meme, and really letting people scratch that itch and teach them what they want to know, and not just going through the fads of, deep roots and no mow May and don't rake the leaves, which are all important, but you can't just look at 2 or 3 sentences and learn everything you need to know. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially the native fads and there's just so much around that. I'd like to know what your favorite plants are to grow in the nursery, because I just think, or what's your favorite plants to grow, and then maybe what's your plant that you just can't seem to make thrive. And I ask that because we always say, like, every horticulturist has the thing they grow really well or they enjoy, and there's always one plant that somebody can't grow. And mine is air plant, to give you an example. I kill every air plant I've ever had. So I'm like, I know someone who can grow an entire beautiful greenhouse, every tropical plant you can imagine, but can't keep aloe alive, right? So we all have something. So I'm curious if you also have a plant that you don't do as well, or plants you just really love. I won't put you too much on the spot.
that's a tough question. You can't ask a plant person that question. Our cuttings for our summer annuals just came in yesterday. So we had 2,000 cuttings come in, and some of those are coleus. Coleus is kind of like a hosta. It's either a hate it or love it. Mm-hmm. I love it. They
Team Coleus at my house. Yeah.
They root so well, and I think what I enjoy about growing them so much in a greenhouse setting, and I've stepped away from the growing aspect here. Jeff takes care of that now, but they make such good patchwork color blocks.
Yes.
We use a lot of those pictures in our marketing to promote plant sales and nursery and Yew Dell in general. It's kind of like that patchwork quilt that you saw your grandma make or something. So it's just really fun. They grow really uniform. They're easy. And then the plants that are hard, there are a few perennials that we just haven't figured out here at Yew Dell. I've had a horrible time overwintering certain types of anemones in our hoops. That has to do with the greenhouses we're overwintering them in. But you're right. There's some people that, Brett might be able to take an air plant, throw it in his desk drawer, and pull it out in 2 years and be like, yeah, this thing's still doing great. And then
Yeah, it's 3 times the size, and yeah.
But that's what makes what we do so magical is you're never going to know everything. And the best way to learn how to grow plants is to kill some.
That's how you know you're a true plant person. We talk about that, right?
Yeah, I know we know memes aren't always the best thing, but the one that's it's low key and they say something and you say like, "Oh, I just killed another plant." Your friend's so upset. I just killed a plant, and you're just like, "Yes, so sad." Anyways, that's what horticulturists are. They're like, "Well, we've killed so many at this point."
We just laugh about it.
Yeah, you just gotta hope that it wasn't something super rare you can't get again. Awesome. Well, how do you? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Brett.
Well, we touched briefly on this idea of native plants, and I think one of the I would say one of the trends that I would like to see go away is the like kind of native pure nativeness vibe. Like, oh, you got to do all natives, and there's a portion who you just mentioned you were growing coleus. There's a portion of our audience that would probably is expecting me to just throw you off because last time I checked, there's no native coleus.
Canceled. I'm done. Go ahead and stop the podcast.
You're out. Okay. This is going
sorry, folks.
But I think it's one of the beautiful things about horticulture and about just being able to delve a little bit longer and down into some longer conversations is that the landscape of my house is a blend of natives and non-natives and a lot of different cultivation techniques and approaches and varieties, improved varieties, things that don't spread disease as much, all yada, yada, yada. But I was just curious, like, how do you all handle that or navigate that native, non-native? I think that there's been a little bit more tolerance that has come back into the space over the last few years, but I was just curious how you all have navigated that.
We do it all. So we have a tremendous amount of native plants here at Yew Dell, but we also have a lot of exotic plants too. We don't do invasive plants. So a lot of people get their definitions confused on the difference between a native plant, an exotic plant, an aggressive plant, and an invasive. So an eastern redbud, Cercis canadensis, is native to Kentucky, wherever all of us are from. And a lot of times it'll be listed as invasive because it seeds itself everywhere, but it's just aggressive. That's kind of the niche that plants grown into, clear cutting or something, they pop up. And so we, going back to trying to educate as much as possible to our visitors is that there's room for both. But I really appreciate someone that's completely native planting. And I think, like you said, there's a lot more tolerance now. It had gotten pretty heated a few years ago. People were really, really talking bad about planting anything besides native. But if you look at the state of Kentucky again, within our imaginary geopolitical lines, we have such an amazing population of native plants that a lot of other areas in the country aren't that fortunate. We're some of the most diverse plant species in the whole country. So we should be promoting our native plants just for what they are. Great plants. They're beautiful. Obviously, if they're native, the native wildlife and stuff will feed on them. But at the same time, here at Yew Dell, we like to make sure we tell people that hardy garden mum, we're starting to really build up a collection of those. When they're blooming in November, the pollinators are all over them. And look around, like, we got to go tell these bees and wasps and everything, they need to stop feeding on the chrysanthemums because they're not native and it's not good for them. So it's pretty neat. And I would encourage people to look out or to the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden because they do a whole lot of classes and kind of citizen science type research between natives and cultivars and stuff. And they've found that some cultivars of native species actually attract more insects than a stray species do.
Interesting. I wonder if it's
Yeah.
like color related or something.
It just makes me think of like, I enjoy bourbon, but I also have, tequila and sake and things from all over the world. Take a little sip, taste good, look good to learn from other places, get a more cosmopolitan worldview through my nectar consumption if I'm a little bee or butterfly. So yeah, I think that's kind of cool.
Oh, I'm pumped for these hardy mums, man. And I'm a chrysanthemum lover. So we need to do some
Definitely come
trading.
up in October, November. We still have plenty of them blooming until late November. It's kind of what a lot of your mums came from that you see now on the garden center shelves. They've been bred to bloom earlier and earlier and earlier, but the original was very late blooming.
Yeah, as those nights come in, right? Just it signals them to bloom. Super cool. Awesome. Well, I would ask you, we talked about we wish people were more exposed to the nursery and horticulture as job opportunities. So what advice might you give someone wanting to enter this sort of nursery landscape industry that you're in? Where would you tell them to focus their energy if they're in school and, trying to figure out what classes to take or whatever?
A lot of it's getting out there and getting that part-time job. And if you can find a part-time job in high school that you love, and it's not really like going to work after school or on the weekends during the summer, that's a great place to start. And you can see so much of it. And with what we do, it's so hands-on. I relate horticulture a lot more to, say, electricians and plumbers and your tradespeople. We are so much more a trade than we are,
Yeah.
book learning. I've got a degree out of Purdue University, but I've learned more on the job by far than I did sitting in the classroom. And those really make a difference when you go out there to find a job, that work experience that you put with it. Just talking today with Chelsea, with Kentucky Horticulture Council, we're going to be hosting a roundtable here at Yew Dell about a registered apprentice program in Kentucky, and the things we need to look at and talk about to really get this going. But we need to offer a lot more opportunities to the youth to get into what we do.
Yeah, that interning. I worked in the greenhouses at UK and at the farm. Jessica and Brett did as well. But I always say I learned stuff with my degree, but I knew how to use it because I worked in the greenhouse. It's cool to know. It's helpful, right? Like it gives you a little bit of a boost when you need to go to step 2. But knowing how to pot something up and seeding efficiently those are huge skills that have to be learned. You just don't magically do it right the first time.
And to run greenhouse operations, you kind of have to be your own electrician, your own plumber, your own carpenter to a certain extent for small things. And a lot of that's what's missing out of the 4-year degree program.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I learned how to do irrigation by getting water blown up in my face, right? And you're like, oh, this isn't right. I don't know. The books don't tell me. Just get soaked.
So maybe we can close with just a question about, as you look at, I know you've had a lot of experience in greenhouses, commercial nurseries, retail nursery, now at Yew Dell. As you think about Kentucky horticulture, what are you hopeful or excited, positive? What are you really hopeful about in Kentucky horticulture?
I think we're in a really good spot right now. So I don't think we have to do a lot to get better. We're already good. I think you look at going back to the tobacco buyout and how it diversified agriculture in Kentucky. I think it's just more networking and getting. I hope we can make a big push to get more of what we do into the schools. And like I said, we've been talking about bringing in more talent to the industry that we desperately need. But it's great now. I brag about that if I go out of state, how diverse our agriculture is here in Kentucky. And growing up in Indiana, it's a big row crop state. We got plenty of row crops in Indiana or Kentucky too, but we're very diverse. It's been great working with the people at the Kentucky Hort Council and all the associations underneath that umbrella, with the KNLA, and then networking with all our botanical gardens and public institutions across the state, and talking to like-minded people like you. So I think what I'm most excited about is just doing what we're doing and keeping on, keeping on.
Sometimes we get wrapped up, when you're in the place, it's easy to think that we're not doing everything. And so you got to step back sometime and be like, oh, right, we're actually doing pretty good. We're not California or Florida. We're different than them, and that's okay. And we're doing some great things. And yeah, we're very diverse. I know that because CCD, we have like 200 publications we have to to edit on different crops and stuff like that. So we know for sure how diverse we can be, and the state itself is so diverse as far as just climate and stuff across. So yeah,
I think one of the things that I've seen through this podcast and through working in extension and at the university and with people is that I've come to pitch it as like that horticulture is in everything. Like it's not in like a derivative way where no shade to the soybean people, but the soybean people will be like, your toilet paper is 8% soy or whatever. I'm like, that's cool. But like horticulture is so thoroughly woven into so many different aspects of human culture in similar and different ways across an international spectrum that you don't have to go very far in your life to see how and where it impacts you. And that's the case for like all of the citizens of Kentucky or of the United States or of the all the people of the world, as opposed to some other forms of agriculture that really have to make a pitch for here's how, you get your food at the grocery store and it's related to that. But like people have memories, they have experiences, they have these cultural engagements. They know that the shade of a tree feels good when it's hot. Like there's a whole lot of ways that we're integrated into people's lives. And maybe they realize it. Maybe we need to do a little bit better job of pointing it out. But that's something that makes me feel excited and hopeful about horticulture, is that it just is so human and so culturally integrated across, and it becomes a common ground in a way.
Oh, plants are human. Listen, Brett's always here to put us in our feels about plants and all that. Jessica and I are like, let's go plant something outside.
I know. Brett always
go climb
so
some trees.
eloquent.
About those cuttings.
Yeah, not me like gonna go steal cuttings from chrysanthemums. Be like,
Yeah. I may be like,
just kidding, I won't do that. I will certainly
Coleus.
purchase them from the Yew Dell sale, hopefully.
how
Jessica
many different
might-
kinds of coleus are we talking about? I have a 5-year-old who's obsessed with coleus. Think about it. He's 5 years old and he is obsessed with coleus. So we might
Bring him
have
out.
to
Pretty cool to
come up
me.
there. So
Bring them out. I would love to walk through with them and be able to pull up the cutting and show them that it doesn't have any roots, and come back in a couple weeks and pull up that same cutting. That's exactly what Yew Dell's here for, is to inspire and teach and make it accessible to everybody what we do.
And Yew Dell is spelled like the plant.
That's right.
Yewdell. So just in case anybody's like looking it up, I remember the first time I looked it up and I was like, why can't I find this place? Because the plant brain hadn't kicked in yet.
Like Uline, the packing company. It's just Yew Dell though.
Or just,
Yew
I was
Dell.
like, YOU? Is it really just Dell? What? Yeah.
YewDellGardens.org.
Awesome. Well, Jacob, thank you so much for joining us, telling us a little bit about KNLA, plant nerding out with us, and how awesome Yew Dell is, and just such a cool job. And remind everybody, if they wanted to purchase plants, they can do that now.
Yeah, through our website. If you go to YewDellGardens.org, click on the plant market, and we uploaded about 5,000 different perennials, not different types of perennials, but inventory wise, it was probably 200 or 300 different species and things like that this week. So we'll be selling plants online throughout the year. Once we open back up to the public with the visitor center, and first Tuesday in March, we'll have plants sitting there to visit. Big spring plant sale the last Friday and Saturday of April. And then any of the events you come up to, we're starting a farmer's market now on the last Friday of every month in the summer months. Concert series. So there's plants, music, food, plants, coleus cuttings, even the architecture. So like I said, when we started, there's a little bit here for everyone. And we'd love to have all you all come out.
Yeah, they give great tours too. So if any of you are looking to take a group, Jessica and I have taken groups and had the planned tour, and it was really wonderful. So you don't have to walk around by yourself if you don't want to. So, but yes, we're super awesome. And look up KNLA if anybody's interested in some of the things they do, or if you have a student or are a student of young or old who wants to do some internships and learn more about the industry.
It's KNLA. In case anybody's not, we are so bathed in the Kentucky Nursery and Landscape Association, which is a grower association, which is part of the Kentucky Horticulture Council's network of groups they work with.
Awesome. Any final thing you want to say, Jacob, before we bounce?
No, it's been great. Glad you all invited me to be on, and looking forward to doing it again. If you want, come out here to Yew Dell.
Yeah.
Maybe I can twist your arm since we're being recorded right now. We can do
no, twist my arm.
we can record a podcast sometime here at Yew Dell.
Awesome. Well, putting it in my calendar, that would be like the thrill of my entire spring. So awesome. Well, we thank you for being here with us today. We hope you guys listening gain something new, have already scheduled your trip to Yew Dell, looking forward to it. Maybe you're just going to become a nurseryman, and that's awesome too. But we're glad you were here with us, and we hope that you will come back and join us again. Have a great one.